sign this treaty, you will get a throne, a kingdom for yourself.
In 1757, the richest man in India had a secret meeting with the head of East India Company in Bengal province. The agenda of the meeting? To overthrow the Nawab of the Bengal. These historic notes reveal that they talked about bribery, invasion of troops, and assassination. Bengal was the richest province in the 17th century, and a new Nawab had just taken control. But there was a problem. Neither was the new Nawab allowing the rich businessmen to earn money, nor was he allowing East India Company to thrive in India. Now this was a good thing for the people of India. But if you were the richest businessman or you are the East India Company, this is a terrible news for you. The British East India Company already had a bad reputation for entering a country in the name of trade and then within a few years colonizing the entire country, and they had now entered India. But look at this historic report. It clearly tells you an Indian moneylender, Jagat Seth, was responsible for starting the British Empire in India. Jagat Seth gave Britishers 2.3 crore rupees or 23,000 crore rupees in today's time just to eliminate the Nawab of Bengal. And this strategic move by the Jagat Seths with the Britishers worked for a short time, but Jagat Seths didn't realize what was coming for them and for the rest of the India. So in this video, I want to lay out what exactly happened in Bengal and why did the Indian moneylender Jagat Seth side with the British East India Company in the first place, how it failed, and what series of bad decisions led to the Britishers not only conquering Bengal but also destroying India by draining all its wealth.
It's the 1700s and Mughal Sultanate had taken control over most of India, and they were now collecting lots of money as taxes from these regions. But they faced one small problem. How would they transfer the collected money from one part of India, say from the Bengal province, to their Delhi capital? Now remember, this is the 1700s. So it wasn't like you could do UPI or NEFT bank transfer. People had to physically carry all the money by road from one point to another. But imagine how risky it would be to carry so much money each time there was a small or big transaction. So here in our story comes a genius man, Manik Chand, who had created a system very similar to the current hawala system. To understand how this system worked, imagine you're the Nawab of Bengal and you wanted to transfer 1000 gold coins to the emperor in Delhi. Now, rather than carrying all this money physically by road to Delhi, the Nawab of Bengal would give this 1000 gold coins to Manik Chand, and Manik Chand would then ask Gopal Chand, his business partner in Delhi, to give 1000 coins from his own pocket to the emperor, and both of them would write 1000 coins given in their khata book. Thus, the money would get transferred from the Nawab of Bengal to the Emperor of Delhi without physically moving any coins by road. But wait, doesn't Gopal Chand now have 1000 coins less? How will he get his money back? Well, imagine a few days later, the army general in Delhi wanted to transfer 700 coins to a blacksmith in Bengal for, say, a payment of weapons that he had recently bought. So rather than physically transferring all the gold coins, he would give 700 gold coins to Gopal Chand in Delhi, and now Gopal Chand would ask Manik Chand in Bengal to give 700 coins to the blacksmith from Manik Chand's own pocket. And after the coins are given, both Manik Chand and Gopal Chand would write 700 coins given in their khata book. Thus, now only 300 coins were remaining to be settled between the two partners. Now imagine many such transactions regularly take place. And finally, one day both Manik Chand and Gopal Chand meet, check what is the balance pending amount and personally settle it. But wait, is Manik Chand taking so much effort to transfer all this money for free? Well, actually, no. For every transaction, he takes, say, 2% of the total amount as fees or commission. So if 100 gold coins are being transferred, Manik Chand earns 2 gold coins. And since Bengal was the richest province at that time, there was a regular transfer of a lot of money. and more the money got transferred, the richer Manikchand became. Now Manikchand's wealth started growing so rapidly that people started calling him and his successors as the Jagat Seths, or the banker of the world.
But Jagat Seth was a pakka Marwari businessman. He knew that he should not depend on a single source of income. Because imagine tomorrow if things go bad with the Mughal Empire, then he would lose all his wealth. So, very wisely, Jagat Seth created multiple sources of income by lending money to other businessmen and even offered his money transferring services to them. And the interesting thing here is, even the British East India Company started using these services. Now remember, this is the 1700s and East India Company was just here to trade with India. And they had not conquered any territory yet. Right now, both Jagat Seths and the East India Company were very happily doing business in the Bengal province under the control of the Nawabs. And under this system, even Bengal's economy was rapidly increasing.
But one day, when the Bengal province got a new Nawab, Siraj-ud-Daulah, then things started changing. Bengal's economy, which was once at its peak, started declining, which directly affected Jagat Seth's revenue. So naturally, the Jagat Seths were not very happy with Siraj-ud-Daulah. But they couldn't do anything about this situation as Siraj-ud-Daulah was in complete power. And while Siraj-ud-Daulah was very brave, he was also very hot-headed. When people didn't follow his orders, he would get very angry and would rush to take an action. And one day he found out that the Britishers were not paying their customs duty. And on top of that, the Britishers were continuously bringing more army, more weapons inside Bengal to increase their strength. So Siraj-ud-Daulah immediately took action. He attacked the Britishers and even captured 146 people and put them in a very small prison with no light, no food and no ventilation. As a result, 123 people died.
Now you know the British. When they do something bad, it's okay. They had to do it. They had no other option, right? But when someone else does a bad thing, they start shouting, "Oh my God, this is wrong. What about human rights?" and their usual blah. So even this time, they started blaming Siraj-ud-Daulah for his evil actions and that the British had to do something about it. So they sent their Lieutenant Colonel Robert Clive to take revenge against this inhuman act. Now the first thing Robert Clive observed was that he had only 3,000 men, whereas Siraj-ud-Daulah had an army of 50,000 men. So if Robert Clive would have directly attacked Siraj-ud-Daulah, then he would definitely lose. So he decides to go for plan B. He observed that the real power, that is, the money in Bengal, was controlled by Jagat Seths. And even the Jagat Seths were not really happy with Siraj-ud-Daulah. So he started poisoning Jagat Seth's mind against Siraj-ud-Daulah. And one day, when Siraj-ud-Daulah demanded a huge sums of money from Jagat Seths, this acted as the final crack in their relationship. Robert Clive took advantage of this opportunity and proposed a master plan to overthrow Siraj-ud-Daulah. Under this plan, Jagat Seth would give a lot of money to East India Company, which they would use to bribe Siraj-ud-Daulah's army general Mir Zafar, and also promised to make him the next Nawab of Bengal. And Mir Zafar happily accepted this bribe. So when the East India Company under the leadership of Robert Clive attacked Bengal province with just 3,000 men, Mir Zafar ordered his 50,000 army to do nothing, resulting in East India Company to easily eliminate Siraj-ud-Daulah and take control of the Bengal province. And this historic event was known as the Battle of Plassey.
After taking control, as promised, they did make Mir Zafar the new Nawab of Bengal. But in reality, he was just a puppet Nawab, and East India Company was in total control of Bengal. One example of this is, after taking control, they made Mir Zafar give 2.3 crore rupees to the East India Company. And this was the very first loot or money drain from India to Britain. But slowly, as time progressed, the relation between the British and Mir Zafar started going bad. So they replaced Mir Zafar with Mir Qasim, who offered to give even more money to the East India Company. And for some time, the Britishers were very happy with this loot. But there was one small problem. They knew that the Jagat Seth still controlled a lot of money and had the power to overthrow the East India Company just like they overthrew Siraj-ud-Daulah. So the East India Company had to do something about this. This time, they started poisoning Mir Qasim's mind against the Jagat Seths. And one day, the Britishers made Mir Qasim attack the Jagat Seths, eliminate them and confiscate all their wealth. So now, one by one, the East India Company had eliminated Siraj-ud-Daulah, Mir Zafar and the Jagat Seths. And the only person left was Mir Qasim, who was left with no power and no support. So in 1764, the East India Company once again attacked, eliminated Mir Qasim and officially took control over Bengal. And this battle was known as the Battle of Buxar. And now, with the full control of Bengal, the East India Company started looting the entire province under the name of heavy taxes. And then used this money and power to conquer even more nearby regions. And then another, and slowly, one by one, the entire country was now under the control of British East India Company. The Britishers looted and drained India's complete wealth for around 200 years, and all this started because one man, Jagat Seth, had a problem with Siraj-ud-Daulah. So guys, that's it from my side. If you learned something new, do hit the like button, and I'm sure you're gonna love this video over here.